Ben Simmons for three. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It is great to be here with all of you on Friday, January 1st of 2021. Yes, brand new year. It's still the week, though. We are here with you with Gavin coming on in just a second. We got a lot of exciting things to go over today. We got the Sixers with a very, very big win yesterday. The Sixers ranked number one in the league this year in defensive rating. They are only allowing 99.8 points a game. A lot to look forward to on that front. Yes, Ben Simmons made himself a three. We got the New Year's Six Bowls coming up. We have predictions coming up for the college football playoff. And then, of course, NFL picks for the weekend. We have a lot of games on Sunday with fantasy implications, with playoff implications. And then, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles play on Sunday Night Football. With that being said, I will now pull in my co-host, Gavin, Tony. Gavin, it's great to be here with you. Happy New Year. How are you doing?
First of all, it's like Happy New Year, and I'm happy. New year, new start. We're going to bring the fire. I didn't know the Eagles played on Sunday night. It's another late game. It's 4 weeks in a row now, Zach? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, Zach, we're going to be off to a great start. New year, new year, new vibes. That's the motto I'm going with. New Year's, new vibes. How you doing?
Doing good. Excited to be here as always. And again, it's Friday. We are entering the brand new year, and we're going to be here on the show with you. With that being said, Gavin, I said yesterday the Sixers would lose last night, and they reminded us all night that the Sixers had not won in Orlando in over four years. And on top of that, on New Year's Eve, it just seemed like a trap game. I was wrong, very much so, and very happily so. On top of all of that, Ben Simmons draining his first three-pointer of the season, no hesitation look. Sam Cassell must be working a little bit on him. Of course, he made 2 threes last season as well, but Gavin, besides that, Sixers, very, very complete game. Good defensively. They're up by 30 at halftime. Don't let that the final score confuse you. Matisse Thybulle looked like he got his rhythm going last night offensively. I'd like to see that from him. Danny Green, again, continuing to struggle, but Steph Curry proving to be one of the best pickups in the offseason. And Joel Embiid looking like the best center in the NBA, 4 straight games now. Gavin, what are some of your first reflections after last night's game in Orlando for the 76ers?
Well, what a way to end the year, Zach. You take down arguably the last undefeated team in the NBA. Joel Embiid's been on a tear. Let's just talk about that real quick. Joel Embiid's been on a tear ever since the first game of the season. You got embarrassed in the bubble. Zach, they disarmed Joel Embiid. He did his best he could, but we all know that team wasn't going to win a game in the playoffs versus Boston. To come out with an all-new coaching staff, all-new motivation, Joel Embiid looks really good. Can you stay healthy the full year? That's my major question. When it comes to Ben Simmons shooting a three, Zach, I like that. And here's the problem with some Sixers fans, Zach, and I want to get your thoughts on it. When they talk about Ben Simmons shooting, they don't talk about Ben Simmons being, shooting a mid-range. They just want him to shoot threes. Zach, I want Ben Simmons to take a minimum of 2 threes a game. And then if he makes the first one, and he makes the second one, then shoot another one. If you go 1 for 2, then go to the mid-range. Zach, we don't need Ben Simmons to be pulling from 3. It sounds nice, but the pressure of 3, how about you just give him to shoot at first? No hesitation. He pulled it and switched it, Zach. And then you missed it, but Dwight Howard also made a 3 as well. Zach, if Ben Simmons can shoot a 3 on a nice basis, on a consistent basis, it could be a dangerous and scary sight. But I do agree, Sam Cassell is doing magic with Ben Simmons right now and giving him confidence in his jump shot. We know he has one. He just got to use it in the game.
Yeah, no doubt. He's practiced it before games. He just hasn't used it. And I think that they need to develop some schemes for that purpose. It looked like they did last night for him. Keep doing that. Get more confidence in the kid. This is one of the best players in the NBA, raw talent-wise. I've argued that from the beginning. Defensively, he's phenomenal. Last night we saw it again against Aaron Gordon. What point guard do you have comfortable going against their power forward and pretty much shutting them down? So I'm very high on Ben Simmons. People know how I feel about that. But, it was just a great game overall. But, of course, Ben Simmons is going to be the focal point. I like that he made the 3. Doc's not putting the pressure on him. But hopefully they can get some things going. And if he can produce every now and then and force him to be defended outside, you're going to avoid double teams on guys like Joel Embiid. And it's going to make it so much easier inside. It's going to bring this team to the next level. I still think they're missing one key veteran piece. to get to that next level of being a championship contender, but I love where this team's going so far. And again, why would you want to mess it up so quickly by bringing in James Harden? With that being said, he's on a tear as well. Don't get me wrong, him and Joel Embiid will be a fine duo here, but I don't want to mess up what's already on the way up and growing.
Was that the one thing, and there's only one thing I can criticize Ben Simmons for is his lack of aggressiveness this year. I mean, he's getting it done everywhere else, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. Okay, we get it. But I want you to score too. We know what Ben Simmons can do when he scores. Zach, go back to the rookie year Ben Simmons. He was on a tear. This Ben Simmons is taking a backseat. I would love to see Ben more aggressive, Zach, especially when it comes to off the ball, because that's where I wouldn't say he lacks the aggressiveness, but when he's off the ball, that could change a lot of stories. If Ben moving without the ball, you can put him down low. I think if you were to get James Harden here, which I wouldn't want to hear, because, I mean, Zach, that would be ruining something perfect. You got 20 from Tobias Harris last night. You got 21 from Curry. You have 14 from Shake Milton. And my favorite pick of this year's draft, you got 10 for Tyrese Maxey. Why would you ruin something great? Now, I get James Harden's a 30-point scorer in this, but you lose a great defender in Ben Simmons. You don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Zach. That's what I'm going to say. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Sixers aren't broken. The only thing I would like to see with Ben Simmons is more aggressiveness.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, haven't necessarily played the toughest competition yet, but they did face the Toronto Raptors, who they struggled against. They faced the Orlando Magic last night, who they've struggled against in the past. You played Washington in the first game, of course. I mean, that's not too impressive considering that they're 0-5 right now, which we'll have to talk about in a little bit. But look, the Sixers look like they have something going that's not asking too much of any individual player. But when someone needs to bring more to the table, they're going to need to do that. So let me ask you this then, Gavin, because we did talk about this last week. Tobias Harris went missing in that first game. Ever since, he's been averaging 20-plus a game. How are you liking number 12 this year?
I like number 12 a lot this year. Zach, he was off to a slow start, and even in game 2, he was off to a okay start. Cleveland, that's where he showed up. But Zach, he's here now. Now, if he can do this consistently, Zach, you talked about last year, Tobias Harris was a 20-point player. He averaged 20 points per game. Not everybody notices that because when you think of the Sixers, you think of their 2 stars, not Tobias Harris. Zach, if you can get another person that averages 20 or 15 plus, that can go a long way, especially a guy in Tobias Harris who can shoot a 3-ball, who can, shoot a mid-range shot. He can space the floor. Zach, Tobias Harris is on a roll, and his best year was with Doc Rivers, which was his last year. So that says a lot right there.
You're not wrong there. He received a lot of criticism early, and he's responded really well. I like where Tobias Harris is going. Don't let the contract distract from the fact that he's an excellent role player, Gavin. As you pointed out, Shake Milton continuing to make his case early, arguably for the potential of being Sixth Man of the Year. And then, of course, just a couple more stats to point out here for the Sixers. Of course, Joel Embiid, 21 points in 27 minutes. Ben Simmons, 10, 8, and 9, a very good night for him statistically. Of course, we still want to see him get more aggressive with the points. But with that all being said, I mean, I like where this team is heading. Big win for them. They play tomorrow against Charlotte. I believe they're home. It's 2 games in 3 days against the Charlotte Hornets. 2 games I expect them, at least one of them, to pull off the victory in.
I expect a win at home versus Charlotte. Zach, Charlotte's hot and cold. I'm not a big fan of LaMelo Ball. I feel like LaMelo Ball is not going, we said yesterday, false advertising, Zach. But let's talk about Shake Milton. Early candidate for Sixth Man of the Year, or maybe Most Improved Player of the Year. Zach, he's averaged, 15 in all the games so far? I have no complaints. And you can get this consistency off the bench with Shake and with Tyrese, with maybe Matisse and maybe Dwight Howard. That could be a great bench. You talk about the Sixers never having a bench. I just named, 3 or 4 people right there.
All that can give you double figures a night.
Exactly. And how about this as an underrated pickup? Dwight Howard. You finally got a center that, yes, maybe past his prime, but Zach, when Joel Embiid takes his night off, Dwight Howard still was a superstar, was an all-star. He was at one point the face of a franchise.
Not wrong at all. I think that he's a great complimentary guy. We need to figure out when Joel's out how this is going to work because it was embarrassing against Cleveland the other night. Yeah, I mean, that's my only concern, and it's been my only concern for 3 or 4 years, and that's why the James Harden argument becomes stronger. But when he's out of the lineup, Ben Simmons needs to be more aggressive. That's kind of a surefire thing that they need to work on, and I think they'll figure it out. But yeah, that's my only concern is Joel Embiid being able to be consistently there, and if he's not, how can this team pan out?
Was that you talk about the James Harden argument? Here's what can weaken that. The Rockets got their first win yesterday, I want to say, with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins. You could drop, ladies and gentlemen, you could drop 40 points, 50 points, like Trae Young. You could do that, but it doesn't mean you're always going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, and defensively, we know how the Sixers stand. Sixers right now give you up 99.8 points a game. Past 2 seasons, every team in the NBA has averaged over 100 points. So that's pretty impressive so far. The Sixers are the best ranked defense in the NBA, Gavin. Is that any sort of surprise to you?
It was not. Zach, we know how great this team defensively is. The length of this team. We always talk about last year about how we had Josh Richardson, how we had Al Horford, how we had Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons can guard 1 through 5. Should have been Defensive Player of the Year. Could have been Anthony Davis. We know there was guys ahead of him. And then you have Matisse Thybulle in his lane. Zach, this Sixers team is tall and lanky and has great defense. So it's no surprising that they average under 100 points given up to their opponent. I think that's going to get better, but Zach, it matters in the playoffs. Defense matters the most in the playoffs. Right now, you can get away with it because it's a 72-game season, 10 games shorter. But when it matters the most is the playoffs. And I'm going to call out the competition just a little bit. The team they faced was, they haven't really faced anybody as serious. But I'm interested to see how it's going to fare against Boston. I'm ready to see Milwaukee. I want you to look against, Zach's Lakers. I'm excited. This season has a lot of potential for the Sixers, and injuries are the only thing that scare me the most.
I mean, honestly, the Sixers match up against anybody on any given day. I'll take them over the Lakers, honestly. I took them over the Lakers last year, and they beat the Lakers, and they should have beat them the second time in Los Angeles. Sixers match up great against almost every team in the NBA. They match up really well against the Bucks. You put, obviously, Joel and Giannis. That matchup is always fun to watch. They obviously trade punches depending on which team is doing better at the moment. Lopez, of course, Simmons can be on him, or even Simmons can be on Middleton. That's how great of a player and defender that Ben Simmons is. Even Dwight Howard coming off the bench for that team. Danny Green being able to play on the guards against Dennis Schroeder for the Los Angeles Lakers. I'll take that any day.
You can go 1 through 3, Zach.
I think that this team matches up very well against most teams. And we saw that early last year, that they matched up against great teams. They just got better this offseason. And I'm excited to see where the team goes.
Zach, take a picture. The Sixers are number 1 in the East right now. I don't know if anyone can see that or not. But
I did see this morning that after beating the Magic, they're number 1 in the league at 4-1.
Take a picture, Zach.
It's great. Look, I mean, the Magic are going to beat bad teams. They're going to be the 8 seed. That's all you need to is just be able to beat the bad teams in this league. But I think, in all honesty, again, one of the most competitive years in the NBA. You have Brooklyn, who's starting to fall apart, I want to say, as I expected. But when their guys are healthy on the court and everything's working out, they look really scary and really dangerous. And I wouldn't want to take them in a series. With that being said, we'll see how it runs out. So now we're going to go to our Around the NBA segment. We'll look at some of the notable games from yesterday, and then, of course, we'll look forward to the games today and some key ones over the weekend. The first one I want to look at is the Bulls and the Wizards, 133-130. Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double, surprise, and his team is 0-5. Gavin, what are your thoughts on the start this year for Washington?
They had a chance to win the game. Well, who knows if that shot goes in or not. Bradley Beal lost the ball in midair. See, here's the thing about stat padding, ladies and gentlemen, and Russell Westbrook. Now, I'm a Russell Westbrook fan. I am a defender. But your triple-doubles aren't winning games. Zach, they're 0-5. They're last in the East. When do you have to realize you need to do more? I mean, take a look at the box score, Zach. Russell was at 22, 10, and 11. Bradley Beal at 28. Thomas Bryant at 28. Roy Hachimura at 17. At some point, you just got to put your foot down, and something's not working. You got to figure it out quickly. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the lack of having a bench. I don't know if it's because Davis Bertrand only had 3 points. Even Rahul Neto had 15, and you still lost. You guys got to figure it out quickly.
Big concerns in Washington. I don't see them right now as a playoff team. It's the same story every year. It's just unfortunate. They may have to tear it down and rebuild it at some point. Another game, as of note, the Pelicans taking care of the Thunder in OKC, 113-80. Again, not many expectations of the Thunder this year, but the Pelicans starting to put together and being good enough to beat bad teams.
Lonzo Ball was near triple-double. He had 16, 8, and 9. Look, Zach, he threw a beautiful half-court lob to Zion Williamson. Zach, we talk about how Lonzo Ball's lack of jump shot, could help or hurt a team, but he makes it up for it in the ability to pass the ball, ability to get others open and facilitate. And then you have Brandon Ingram. You still got Zion Williamson. You got Steven Adams, who is an underrated pickup that no one talks about. Then you got your bench. You got J.J. Redick. You got Jackson Hayes. You got, Josh Hart. This team is nice, Zach. in a 7-game series, they could win in 7. It could be one of those trap series.
Yeah, no doubt. They figure some things out. Their bench continues to get stronger. I really do like where the Pelicans have continued to go over the last 2 years. And then, of course, the final game on our list for yesterday's games, Phoenix Suns continuing to tear it out against the Utah Jazz. They're 4-1, Jazz 2-2. A couple of notable scores: Devin Booker 25, Chris Paul 11 points, Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges 16 for the both of them, and then of course their bench contributing as well. Gavin, we knew Phoenix would be good going into the year. They have one loss since pre-bubble last year, and that one loss occurred this year. They went 8-0 in the bubble. How optimistic are you the Suns can make a nice playoff push?
Well, I think it's time, Zach. They got the best leader and arguably the best leader in the NBA, and Chris Paul. He's not there to score buckets. He's there to help facilitate and grow to everybody else as a player. You got great coach Monty Williams, who everybody loves down there. This team's going to be a playoff team. What they do in the playoffs, I don't know, but they're going to be a serious team later in the West and later in the year, especially in the West. Zach, they could be top 5 in the West, top 5 or 6th seed at best. But I do see the Suns being a problem this year. And Devin Booker, he wants his respect because not a lot of people remember Devin Booker is an all-star. He is a 3-point champion. The bubble, they put everybody on notice that next year, even though, Zach, I was fond of them getting a chance to be, part of the playoffs because they were the better team out of the 2 teams that got the playing game. Zach, I was fond of the Suns last year in the bubble, and they basically put everybody on notice saying we're not playing around this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I like where they're going. Having a passive point guard with a scoring shooting guard has always been a great combination in the league. DeAndre Ayton, the former first overall pick, did miss a lot of time last year, but yeah, I like where this team's going.
Right? 3 games.
Yeah, I think that it's been a great combination so far. Obviously, they're not going to be contending in the West at the moment, I don't think, but that doesn't mean in the future that they're not going to be able to. So I think that's going to be a team on the up and coming. But let's get to some more games both today and over the weekend, Gavin. A big notable game coming up tonight is the Clippers and the Jazz. Of course, the Jazz come off an unfortunate loss last night. But then another game on here, the Phoenix Suns are traveling to Denver. Gavin, the Suns are on a back-to-back going up against a tough Denver team. You think the Suns can pull it off?
I think so, Zach. The Denver Nuggets are 1-3, and the teams they lost to have been shocking. You get blown out by the Kings, you lose by 6-7 to the Kings, which may not be a blowout, but ladies and gentlemen, that was a bad loss. You start out 0-3 or 0-2. Zach, I can see the Suns winning this one and moving to 5-1, and it goes back to your first game. Clippers and Jazz. I'm fond of all these teams. What the hell? Hold on.
Yeah, new computer rings everywhere.
Yeah, hold on. Just keep going, Zach. Take going.
No, I mean, I agree. I think that the Nuggets have been underperforming this year. Coming into the season, look, Michael Porter Jr. is healthy. He looks pretty good. Of course, Jamal Murray's coming off the hot streak in the bubble. And when you're in the Western Conference Final, the next year you have high expectations for it. We saw Portland kind of fall off last year. We might be seeing Denver fall off as well. And I mean, they've had some good scores this year. They've had some good plays, but again, just a very competitive year so far in the West. And Denver might get left behind.
Yeah, now I get the phone. I get the phone commentary. Yeah, Zach. I guess
new year, new phone. There we go.
New year, new phone. There we go. I'm on the other side. But no, listen, Zach. When it comes to the Clippers and Jazz game tonight, I'm looking forward to this game. I don't know why. It's one of these games where it looks like it could go in one team's favor, but it's going to be really close. We know what the defense of Kawhi Leonard can bring, and Donovan Mitchell's offensive power. He did get paid. Zach, we weren't fond of Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell being together again for another year. The Jazz said, look, they don't have problems. We're going to lock them in for long term. So I think we're at the point, if you're the Utah Jazz, where you guys start winning some games. And you've been an early round exit, every year, ever since Gordon Hayward left. You've been leaving, second and first round? You got to make it to the Western Conference. That's the ceiling. That's right now. That's the ceiling for you guys. It's Western Conference.
I was high on them last year. They were up 3-1 over Denver, and of course, we know how the rest of that went down. So let's go into some other games going into the weekend that are notable. Of course, let's start with the 76ers as they go up against the Charlotte Hornets at home tomorrow. Hornets, inconsistent team, so I can't see them winning one of these games. I don't know if they will because they're both at home, and the Sixers do so well at home. But Gavin, what are your thoughts tomorrow against the Charlotte Hornets?
It's going to be one of these games, Zach, where we feel like the Sixers should come in and win by 30 points. But you can't ignore Terry Rozier. You can't ignore Devontae Graham. LaMelo Ball is hot and cold, so I would put him in there, but I can't. Zach, this is going to be a close game for the Sixers. I think they win by 10, but it's going to be close throughout. And then the Sixers, like they always do in the late third, early fourth quarter, they just flip the switch, and then the game gets out of hand.
I hope so. I expect to see a more dominant performance from Ben Simmons. Not really anyone that's going to slow him down. And then, of course, Joel Embiid, I don't really see anyone slowing him down. The only key is to contain the three. Obviously, Devontae Graham, a couple of these other guys, LaMelo Ball, being able to get involved in there. We have to just slow down the three. And the Sixers are going to need to be able to do that to not be outscored, or else it could become a shootout very quickly. Just looking into some other games into the weekend, another one that's going to be notable, Gavin's Golden State Warriors going up against the Portland Trail Blazers on Sunday at 8:30 p.m., a rematch of the Western Conference Final, which seems to be in the rear view mirror now, looking at how both these teams are shaping up. But Gavin, who are you taking in this one?
I'm taking James Wiseman and the Warriors, Steph Curry and the Warriors. Zach, there's one thing I noticed about this Portland team. They don't have a center, a dominant center, and I don't care what Yusuf Nurkic is. All right, Yusuf Nurkic hasn't been as dominant as we saw him in the bubble. Zach, and Damian Lillard is not what we were seeing in the bubble. I think he could be tired. CJ McCollum is on a tear. That could be a problem for the Warriors due to the fact they don't have Klay Thompson, their best defender. But when you're Steph Curry and you've been dropping 30-plus points in there, arguably Zach, he's making an MVP case. And James Wiseman's starting to come into his own on the team. They could win this game off of a simple pick and roll and give it to the low post. And if Steph Curry gets his threes, it could be over. Now, the one thing I don't like about the Warriors this year is that Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins can't shoot the damn ball. That's the problem. They can't shoot the ball. Kelly Oubre's only points has been dunks? I don't know why they brought Andrew Wiggins in last year. That was a horrible move. You should have kept D'Angelo Russell for everything. Zach, I'm going with the Warriors, but they really got to get those two guys going shooting-wise.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Any word on Draymond Green yet? Do you know, Gavin? Is he expected to return yet?
Either tomorrow night or next week, but it doesn't.
That's going to be. I've said it before, and people probably don't understand why. It's not he's going to come out and drop 30 on you, but there's a lot of things
the defensive
Draymond Green do for that team.
He's a defensive heart and soul, Zach. He when you have Draymond there, he's going to push you to be better. You saw, Zach, when James Wiseman messed up and I forgot who it was get by him. Who was the first to get in James Wiseman's space? Not in an argumentative way, but in a teaching way. Draymond Green. Draymond Green was the heart and soul of this team defensively and just all around. I'm not fond about what went down between him and Kevin Durant. Zach, you know how I feel. I feel that doesn't happen. Kevin Durant's still there, and they're winning another championship. And how they handled the injury as well. But when Draymond Green comes back, this Warriors team is going to start to mesh together defensively, and they're going to be better.
I mean, you can only hope so because, look, they did not have Kevin Durant the first time around. They went to the NBA Finals twice without him. Of course, they really should have won in 2016, being up 3-1. But at the end of the day, you get spoiled. You bring in a guy like Kevin Durant, who you expect to be able to come out and routinely drop 30 points on the opposing team. It kind of puts the rest of your team in the back seat. And, now we're starting to see the reality check that you don't have a guy there anymore who's going to drop 30 a night. And, nothing against Steph Curry, but he now has to go back to where he was, throwing the team on his back, MVP Steph Curry, where he is his team. I know it's tough without having Klay Thompson there. You don't really have any other three-point threats, so you're going to see some doubles even outside. And it's going to be tough for Steph Curry. He's going to have to make more plays. But it doesn't help when Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre Jr. are just not being as productive as you thought they would be when you bring them in.
When you brought him in, Zach, Kelly Oubre looked like a great trade off when you first get him. You thought, hey, he can hit a couple of shots for the Warriors and with space the floor and help Steph Curry out shooting-wise and defensively. He's no slouch. But he hasn't been that guy they asked him to be. And Andrew Wiggins sure as hell has not been that guy they asked him to be. I forget, Zach, honestly, I forget he even plays for the Warriors some days. That's how irrelevant he's been sometimes. But I feel like when Draymond Green comes back, everything's going to smooth out. And like I said, you just got to get those guys going. James Wiseman is going to be a dominant center in the league. Zach, I arguably think as soon as Klay Thompson comes back, they automatically jump to contenders again, especially if Wiseman continues to improve and develop. It's always just a waiting game for your Golden State Warriors.
What do you think their ceiling is this year, or best case scenario?
If you get into the playoffs, well, their ceiling will be playoffs, and then when they get in the playoff ceiling, it could be second round exit. All depends on who you match up with. It could be first round exit, but Zach, they're like another trap series in my opinion. All depends on if Curry can stay healthy, if Wiseman can continue to develop, if Draymond Green's there setting the defensive tone, and if Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins can get rolling. If they can get rolling, they could make a nice little run in the playoffs. They're not going to go to the finals, ladies and gentlemen, even though I don't count my man Steph Curry out because we know what he could do on any given night, Zach. But I don't see them making a finals run this year, but next year, we could talk about next year. That's going to be a year to watch.
Possibly, and they can go anywhere from being a top 5 seed to being a lottery pick this year. We have no idea. And again, when Draymond Green comes back, time will ultimately tell. That's kind of what they're waiting on, at least until Klay Thompson comes back next year. I don't think I don't think they're a finals conversation yet, but I think they're definitely top 4 in the West, which means that at any moment they could be put in the Western Conference Finals. So it's all going to depend on how they look the rest of the year, and they're kind of just preparing for next year and make a playoff push, get some experience for some of your young guys. I think last year all these young guys had a great opportunity to start, and that's why their bench is even stronger, but they still have a ways to go, especially when 2 of your starters really can't score right now at all. It's a lot of pressure for the rest of the team.
It just puts a lot of pressure on the man, Steph Curry, and we're looking at him this year as he has to lead his team. He has to do more than he ever had to do recently. It's like the reason why I say Golden State could be an instant title contender next year is because people forget Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they did win a championship without Kevin Durant. They did go 7-3-9 without Kevin Durant. Now, yes, Zach, the bench was better. You had Sean Livingston, you had Barbosa, and then you had Andre Iguodala, and you had Maurice Space and the crew. We know, I get that. But the reason why is James Wiseman. It kind of set around him. Zach, when the Warriors went to the finals the first time, they had Andrew Bogut and David Lee. Andrew Bogut's not as, he's all right. He was good for what they wanted to do. They had Harrison Barnes there as well. But this next go around, especially with Wiseman can develop an outside game even better, come on, Zach.
Had a lot of hype coming into the year with limited college experience. He still has a way to go and develop, and he's already looked good at the NBA level. Coming up after this, college football playoffs have begun. The official top 4 teams will be kicking off starting at 4 o'clock between the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Alabama Crimson Tide, or as I call it, an Alabama televised practice. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, the actual playoff game between Ohio State and Clemson. Obviously, you can probably estimate my thoughts on the first game, but we'll actually break it down, get some predictions and more, so stay tuned. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. Welcome back here on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show, just wrapping up our NBA conversation for the day. Go back and check out that when you have a chance if you did not get a chance to catch it. But let's get started with the college football playoffs. Georgia has kicked off at 12 o'clock. No score as of right now early in the first quarter against Cincinnati. But, Gavin, we've got a few other games that are going to be quite notable in the New Year's Six Bowls today. Of course, we have at 4 o'clock the Alabama Crimson Tide as the 1 seed against the 4 seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, people have asked me for a while my opinion on expanding the playoffs. I'm not a big fan of it. When was the last time, and someone can write in the comments, again, college, this new format has only been around for so many years, but when was the last time that we actually saw a 4 be competitive against a 1? Every year, Oklahoma is the universal 4 seed, and they get pounded. Last year against LSU, the year before against Alabama, Clemson, when they're at the 1 seed, are able to comfortably do stuff. So I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of expanding it. If I could, either throw out records sometimes, just acknowledge that even if some teams have a tough loss or 2, they can still find a way to get into the college football playoff, or have the 1 seed have a bye and 2 and 3 go against each other. Because the 1 and the 4 is so imbalanced. That's why I like college basketball better, honestly, because any given moment a team can upset. And it's very uncommon. LSU, of course, taking down Florida. Florida falling apart at the end of the year. They, of course, lost to Oklahoma the other night. Even Oklahoma looks like more of a playoff team than Notre Dame does right now. Notre Dame had a good year. And listen, I'm not anti-Notre Dame. I know people who are, and I'm not anti-Notre Dame. But listen, they get a lot against them for not being in a conference. And this year they cling to the ACC. I mean, they're basketball teams in the ACC. Their very first year where they actually play in a conference, of which they get a lot of criticism for not playing in a conference. They go to the conference championship. I think that deserves a lot of credit and a round of applause. With that being said,
But
they did not have a competitive game against a much healthier Clemson. And no disrespect to these guys, but the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and Notre Dame, teams like that, majority of the Big 10 are nowhere near the top ACC school in Clemson and pretty much the entire SEC. You can take a team that's 2 games over 500 in the SEC, and they're probably going to beat the runner-up in every other conference. The SEC is that competitive. Vanderbilt went, 0-9 this year?
0-9, but they had a great story, though.
They're not good. Yes, as you pointed out, first ever Power 5 female player to score points. Very, very great story there. Firing their coach middle of the year. They're trying to build their way back up. I'm sure they could have squeaked by a win from the basement of the Big 10 or the basement of the Big 12. The SEC is very competitive. You could put Georgia in there this year and it'd be competitive. 2 days ago, I would have said Florida, but of course they lost the other night. LSU, I still think, would have been competitive.
Florida,
I think it's very hard to – and yes, I mean, it's very hard to compete in college football. But there's other teams that could have potentially went in there and been better. And I might chew my words tonight if Notre Dame finds a way to go out there and do well. But they dropped an egg in the ACC championship game. And that's why I'm baffled by the college football committee's decision to put them in over some of the other teams in the SEC and a couple other conferences. I'm not going to sit here and say that any Big Ten teams outside of Ohio State deserve to be in it, but there are some teams that could have made an argument. Of course, Indiana suffering the injury to their quarterback. But at the end of the day, I think it's so important to understand that we should not expand the college football playoff. And all you need to look at the past 3-4 years of the 1 seed versus a 4 seed. And that in itself explains why you should not expand the college football playoff.
Well, Zach, my opinions on college football. Alabama and Clemson ruin it. You see the same teams every year. Last year was actually the first year where you didn't see the one, but you still got the other one. It's been a long time since you saw something different. I wouldn't say back Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston was the last time I remember seeing something totally different. But, Zach, here's my problem. Why was Notre Dame even brought into this year? Yes, I know they have Zach, the record 10-1. You beat Clemson the first time, a Trevor Lawrence list.
And a couple of the players on defense were out with COVID as well.
Exactly. But here's my problem. Here's my big problem. They got smacked in the championship game, and you dropped them to 4. Do you know there's a team that, got disrespected by that? What about Texas A&M? What about, Zach, you even said any other SEC team would make this game today at 4 o'clock would be somewhat competitive. Georgia, LSU. Well, LSU not this year, but
I mean, even they wouldn't because they didn't have a good year. But I think they'd be more competitive, honestly, than Notre Dame. With that being said, everybody gives criticism to Clemson for playing in a weak conference with a weak schedule. Why don't those standards also apply to Notre Dame this year? Let me read you off some of the teams they played. They played Duke. They only won by 14 points. South Florida, they pretty much handily took care of it.
That's a different story.
They scored 12 points against Louisville. 12. They won 12-7. They beat Florida State. They crushed Pitt. It's Pitt. Georgia Tech. Of course, Clemson in overtime. We know that.
And you won by 7.
They gave up 31 points too. Pretty respectable game against UNC. They gave up 21 to Syracuse. So of course, they still won. And they laid an egg. They scored 10 points against Clemson the second time around with a healthy team.
So why are they number 4 then, Zach?
They shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be.
I'll pull up the SEC standings right now. I'll tell you every team.
Was next in line.
I'll tell you every team that I would take right now over Notre Dame.
Florida was hanging with Alabama. They were going punch for punch.
Unfortunately, their bowl game was not so strong. But before that, I definitely would have. So I'm looking for. All right. So Alabama, obviously, I'd take over them. Texas A&M at 8-1. You're telling me you couldn't put A&M in there? Only loss was to Alabama. You're telling me you couldn't put A&M in there over Notre Dame? These are real defenses. LSU's defense is good. Once you get down to Ole Miss and down, I would not consider that competitive. But LSU, Auburn, A&M, and Alabama, and then Florida, Georgia, and possibly Mizzou every other year. They're 7-2, 8-2, 10-0, 8-1. Auburn at 6-4. Honestly, I would take Auburn at 6-4 over Notre Dame. That's how competitive the SEC is. Because look at who they play. Bama. Like when LSU was good last year, you want to know how good LSU was? They were beating Alabama. They were beating Georgia. They were beating Auburn handily. And now look at these guys in the pros. Joe Burrow, if he didn't get hurt, would be Rookie of the Year. The Rookie of the Year is going to be Justin Jefferson. A lot of great guys on that offensive line. Patrick Queen on the defense. We know the story with these guys. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who unfortunately is hurt right now. That's how good they were. That's how competitive the SEC is. And we're talking about teams in the ACC outside of Clemson. No other team is deserving of that. All right. Even look at the Pac-12, right? You got teams like USC. This isn't even competitive this year. Some years USC is competitive. Some years UCLA is competitive. Some years Oregon will sneak in and have a respectable appearance. But I mean, like what are we talking about here? Look at the Big 12, too. Oklahoma had a fair year this year. Last year they had a great year, of course, with Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. But they got destroyed in the college football playoff semifinal. I mean, it was what, 4 touchdowns for Justin Jefferson in the first quarter, first half.
And Howie didn't pick that. Just want to let you know.
Yeah, we know that Howie did not pick that. Oklahoma State, Texas. TCU even had a good year this year. Iowa State, I mean, these are the Big 12. It's a joke. All right, nothing against the Big 12. They play against each other. It's competitive. But you put them in front of the SEC, it's not anywhere near each other. The Big 10, Northwestern had a pretty good year. I would love to see if Northwestern play against Notre Dame and see how that would work out. All right, now I might just be getting crazy with it, but the SEC is a different animal. And Florida, Georgia, even Auburn and LSU, who didn't have good years, but look who they play. You take out the top 2-3 teams in the country, LSU 6-1. That's how competitive these schedules are in the SEC. The ACC is nothing. With Clemson, you can't ignore what they're doing, but now we're comparing that to Notre Dame standards.
Was that I got to ask you this because – you know, I when Notre Dame lost, you know, I was the first one to text us like they shouldn't be even in this. But you know another team that if you want to leave Notre Dame in this, that's fine. But you know another team that shouldn't be in it? Ohio State. I know, give or take, some games they cancel the virus and you can't help that. But it's like when they were playing, their notable win is what? Indiana? That's it? Indiana? And you want to say a horrible Penn State team? Okay, fine, go for it. But I feel like, and this is just me, if your biggest names, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and then obviously your money-making school, Alabama, and then you have that one team, Notre Dame, that just made it, nobody wants to watch this. I'm furious because let's just forget Notre Dame. Let's just talk about Ohio State. I'm furious because a team with 5 wins got in before, and Zach, going back to the SEC, before over Texas. Over Texas out all teams. Texas should have been next in line.
I put them. I would definitely put Ohio State over Texas. I would not put them.
Do that?
I would put that. No, because listen, Ohio State. They looked at it. They said, "Look, they don't have the games that they need, but we know that they're a top 5 team in the country." I would put A&M in over them. You want a competitive year? Well, if you want competitive, I would do Bama.
A&M.
I would do Bama and A&M, one of the 4, and then Clemson, Ohio State. I'm fine with the Ohio State pick. It's hard with only 6 games, but look at what they've done in the past. Look at how good they were when they played games this year.
Right. I'm just saying, it's hard. This conversation, Ohio State is hard. They are a solid team, but I mean, yeah.
If you go with that, I mean, the question is, how do you put an 8-2 team in there over a 6-0 team? With that being said, A&M, their only loss was to Alabama. I don't know how Notre Dame made it over A&M. That to me is the biggest head scratcher. I just don't know.
It's like here's another
Florida, what, a loss to LSU? LSU's always going to be competitive.
Hold on. We saw this 2 years ago, right? With Notre Dame. They had Ian Book. They had Julian Love at cornerback, which is nobody now in the NFL. It's like they had these guys. And what happened when they went against Clemson?
They scored 3 points.
They scored 3 points and got destroyed.
And now what do you think Alabama's going to do?
Nick Saban is going to do to you. What do you think? It's going to be the same thing. And it's like, you know how confident is. I feel like Notre Dame has a better chance on signing JT. And I know there's a difference word, but Zach, just hold on. There's a craziness to my madness. But Notre Dame's odds of winning is the Phillies' odds of signing JT Realmuto. Low. It's low. Why are they in here, Zach? I just don't get it. I'm not even gonna put the 4 o'clock game on. And another opinion too on college football, the reason I'm not high into it and I like college basketball more is because they make Alabama's schedule easy. Yes, you get the LSU and occasionally another team in there too, but they play a lot of online schools, a lot of no-name schools for them to go 10-0, 10, 12-0 every year. That's just my opinion.
I don't get it. We'll get to prediction in a quick minute, but just let me just read you Texas A&M. I mean, I'm not really sure how you don't put this team in the playoffs. I mean, you beat Vanderbilt. We know it's not impressive. You lose to A&M week 2. Or I'm sorry, you lose to Alabama week 2, 24-54. It's an ugly game. But it's week 2. It's the SEC. Now listen to the rest of this, Gavin. I don't know how you can keep this team out. They beat Florida. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Arkansas. They crushed South Carolina. They beat LSU, who Florida lost to. And then you take care of business against Auburn. And then, of course, you take care of business against Texas A&M. I don't know how you don't put that team in the playoffs because of one loss against a team that's better than them. Are you telling me right now that playing Pitt is harder than playing Auburn and LSU and all these other teams? I don't think so. I really don't. I don't understand how this team did not make the playoffs.
Don't get me started on Cincinnati. Our teachers are the best. There's no school like that ever will make it into to a college football ever. Cincinnati and BYU, why'd you guys even try? You guys never got looked. Cincinnati was the highest. Coastal Carolina was undefeated. I think they don't matter. They don't matter.
I mean, if the four's going to get blown out anyway, why not give another team a chance to see what happens?
Why don't you give a team like that?
Our argument would change on whether or not to expand the college football playoff. But you know what? Look, Georgia, they beat Arkansas week 1. They annihilate Auburn week 2. Easily take care of Tennessee. They lose to Alabama 24-41. You beat Kentucky. You have a loss to Florida, which of course is going to be the issue. You beat Mississippi State. You beat South Carolina. You beat Missouri. I mean, Georgia and A&M, both teams. Honestly, I'd go with A&M over them and possibly Florida because Florida's had that tough loss to LSU. But they also lose to Alabama. Alabama's the best team.
They went punch for punch stack. They were
Alabama's the best team in the country. I don't understand how you don't put one of the other SEC teams in it this year and put Notre Dame in instead, especially when honestly, A&M was the most deserving this year, I'd say, over Notre Dame. Schedule was tougher. You lost to a tougher opponent, and you played the better team.
I hope Notre Dame loses badly today, just so I can get a good laugh, just so we can say, why do you guys keep forcing Notre Dame football in our faces? Trevor Lawrence did to him.
Easily. They scored a late touchdown. They had 3 points in that whole game. Remember that. But let's get to the predictions then. 4 o'clock today, first game, Alabama, Notre Dame. I'm going to take Alabama by a score of 48-12.
Well, Zach, I'm not fond of Alabama, but I'm sure I'm not fond of Notre Dame. Give me Roll Tide 50-7. And that 7 comes later.
Yeah, let's see how it rolls out. I'd be really curious if Notre Dame finds a way to pull it off a victory. Very unlikely, but let's get to the actual game that's going to be competitive. As much as whether or not you like that Ohio State's in it, you can argue it's going to be a good game.
That's just a wins number for me, Zach.
It was a good game last year. Of course, a late interception from Justin Fields inside the 10-yard line of Clemson led to a Clemson victory. I mean, Ohio State was the better team last year against Clemson, but Clemson was able to hold their ground. I think Clemson's better than Ohio State this year. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to go 38-34 Clemson.
38-34 Clemson. Zach, you can't bet against Trevor Lawrence. Ohio State lost a lot of key players on defense, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah. I'm going to roll with Clemson. Trevor Lawrence has been on a tear ever since he came back from the virus. He dropped 34 points on Zach's Notre Dame's team. Give me Clemson 40-38. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, I think so, similar to how it was last year. And then, of course, that 1-4 is going to be the game to keep an eye on this afternoon. We'll see if anything comes from it. But coming up after this, it is Week 17, the final week of the NFL season. We will get our predictions, picks, and more, and we'll discuss some of the playoff implications and then the keys to success for one final game for our Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football against the Washington football team. Stay tuned, everybody. It's going to be fun. Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel. You will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10%
of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
Welcome back here on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show, getting ready for NFL picks. The games that don't have playoff implications, we won't look too far into, but the ones that do, I'll point them out for us. A lot going on this week in both conferences. The Chicago Bears currently sit in the 7th seed. Baltimore Ravens currently sit in the 7th seed. Indianapolis Colts currently on the outside looking in. Arizona Cardinals also on the outside looking in. All right, Gavin, let's get to it. First game on our list is the Vikings and the Lions, of course, again, with no implications in it. I'm going to take the Vikings on this one.
Well, Zach, I'm gonna go with your Detroit Lions. Look, it's a rebuild year. All right, you got rid of coach. Hopefully you're gonna get a new general manager pretty soon. Louis Riddick is one of the guys when you talked about it. I just like there's no Dalvin Cook for the Vikings this week. I'm going Detroit.
I also see Detroit can finish the year off strong. Of course, my NFC North pick not going too well this year. Next game on our list, the Buccaneers coming off a very hot game against the Detroit Lions, against the Atlanta Falcons. I expect the Buccaneers to win this game. I don't know how many guys are going to be rested this week or playing, considering they already clinched the playoffs, but I'm sure they want to secure that 5 seed and try to get home field if they can play another playoff wild card team. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers this week.
Well, Zach, I'm gonna play spoiler. I'm going with the Falcons. Why not? You got embarrassed. You do what you're known to do, which is lose a big lead to Tom Brady, and why not just give him the last game? Just play spoiler and ruin their home field advantage chances for one game.
Yes, we'll have to see how that rolls out as well. The next game on our list, a team with a 2-game winning streak in the New York Jets against the New England Patriots, what I expect to be Adam Gase's final game as the head coach of the New York Jets. I'll take New York on this one. I really will. I think Sam Darnold's really trying to play for his job right now. I want Sam Darnold to light it up against New England. They're banged up. Not much going on for New England. They're not really too happy with being out of the playoffs, but of course, I don't know if Cam is going to be there or Jarrett Stidham, depending on who they put in, but I'm going to take the Jets on this one.
Zach, 2021 must be really doing wonders because when have we ever agreed on the Jets? Zach, I'm going with you. Listen, Cam Newton looked really bad. What was that, Monday night? And the Patriots defense is not that good this year. And the offenses, don't get me started. Zach, I hope this is Adam Gase's final game, but it would just put a smile on my face if they go on a 3-game win streak at the end of the year, just so they make sure they get a lower pick.
You know, that'd be funny for sure. Another game on our list with quite the fantasy implications. For the Bills, not so much. Possibly can move into the 2 seed, but that would involve a few other things to go their way. But the Miami Dolphins, win and you're in. That's simple. Again, they're 10-5. It's going to take 11 wins this year, Gavin. We were one off pretty much. It's going to take 11 wins to go into the playoffs. Ryan Fitzpatrick is out with the coronavirus. I have some personal takes on as far as how I like Miami's handling of that situation. With that being said, I do have confidence in Tua. I think they need to be more aggressive with the play calling. When they let go of the training wheels, Tua does well. And so I think that's going to be one of the big things. But I am taking Buffalo this week. They're a better team. Even if they go some of their backups, I think they're still the better team than Miami.
It depends on how long we see Josh Allen and basically all the starters. Doug McDermott, you play your starters for a whole time. You're an idiot. Zach, I'm going to roll with the Dolphins this week. It's winning you're in a situation. Tua got benched, and Ryan Fitzmagic, Mr. Steal Your Job, throws a miraculous pass, and the rest is history. I'm going with the Dolphins this week. Tua, you need this game, Zach. But back to what you were saying. I don't like how they're handling this situation. It works now, but it's not good for long term. You gotta leave Tua in for these teachable moments.
I mean, that's what they're going for. They're trying to win now, though. So I think that I don't know if Tua's going to end up learning the way. Like most rookies will go and make mistakes for a few weeks, get it fixed up for the next season. But the Dolphins are also playing win now football, and that's unfortunately how it's going to be. The next game on our list here is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Mason Rudolph starting in this game, so the Steelers are going to be going down to some of their backups. With all that being said, for Cleveland, they still are not in the playoffs despite their great record so far this year. A win, and they're in as well. I'm going to take Cleveland this week. They've been on a hot streak. Again, last week they lost to the Jets without their wide receivers. They're all back this week. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns over Pittsburgh in a close one.
You said Mason Rudolph starting? Oh, yeah, give me Baker Mayfield. I don't like neither one of these teams, but give me Baker Mayfield. Zach, they didn't have no wide receivers last week, and the run game was there, but they couldn't get anything going against the New York Jets. I expect better from Baker Mayfield this week. I expect a really great game from Baker Mayfield. I got the Browns winning, and I'm gonna give you a score with this one. Zach, 38-7.
It's quite the blowout. If they can get the ground game going, it's going to be a big one. The next on our list is a big game for playoff implications: Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants in New York. Giants have been very inconsistent this year, hot and cold. Of course, they upset the Seattle Seahawks. But Dallas is looking very good right now. I hate to say it. And, of course, this game in itself is not going to determine the playoffs. Of course, that will be on Sunday night between the Eagles and the Washington football team. But who are you taking in this one?
Zach, I'm taking the Cowboys. Why? Because I want the Cowboys to win. And then when they're done their game at 1 o'clock, they hang out in the locker room, they chill. And then when Sunday Night Football comes on, and then when our team comes on prime time, just for the Eagles to lose and Washington goes to the playoffs, and Cowboys fans go home in depressed and sadness, and then I get to call every Cowboys fan I know and see if they pick their phone up. I'm going with the Cowboys just so I can have a great Monday.
I mean, the first part I agree with. I'm not sure the Eagles will necessarily lose on Sunday given the backup quarterback, I don't even know his name, for Washington is going to be in this week with XFL reps only. I don't really see how the Eagles can lose.
Hey, if
a little bit, Gavin's cruel hopes for Dallas Cowboys fans will continue even in Week 17 when the Eagles are out of it. But next game on our list, this is another big one. Again, the Baltimore Ravens, who were our favorites going into the year to win the Super Bowl, against a red-hot Cincinnati Bengals team.
Zach, there's no way Baltimore loses this one. I know our predictions were 16-0, Zach. We called it, but we were far off from it. But listen, Zach, they're in a situation when they win and they're in. And Baltimore's going to win this weekend. I don't see the Bengals playing spoiler and ruining their playoff chances. And they're going to be one of these teams in the playoffs where when they win, they could make some noise. So I'm going Baltimore this weekend.
No, they're dangerous if they get in. It's a matter of being able to get in. They dropped some games that they really shouldn't have. Lamar, of course, being out for a week or two really messed up for them. But, yeah, I'll agree with you. I'm taking Baltimore this week, secure a playoff spot, get in, make some noise, get some revenge from last year. Another game which is going to have huge implications, the Jags and the Colts. If the Colts win, they're in. And if we have the Bills predicted and the Bills win, Colts winning would also knock out either the Miami Dolphins or the Baltimore Ravens, depending on who wins or loses. But if both those teams win, the Colts are already out of it by the time that they start playing. So they'll pretty much have a good idea by then. However, I am going to go with the Colts. I do trust that they can pull off the win. I mean, it'd be unfortunate if you see both Miami winning and then also Baltimore winning, and that would knock the Colts out.
Tank for Trevor Lawrence's success. Jacksonville won. Adam Gase, I don't know how you did that. But Zach, I'm going with the Colts. But I kind of find this funny that every team that's in the playoffs in the AFC with 10 wins, Zach, it's win is in. And if one team loses, the Colts gets the spot. I don't see any one of those teams losing. Maybe the Dolphins, but all in all, Zach, or maybe I don't know. But it's going to be fun to watch. You're right, Zach. They could have an idea by 4:25 if they're in or not, but it might not matter.
Possibly. Colts, who rumored have been preparing to get rid of Phil or not be re-signing Philip Rivers in the offseason, could be calling Philadelphia. We'll break that down in the offseason if that phone call were to come. Of course, reuniting Carson Wentz with Frank Reich would be a hot story. But the next game on our list, Tennessee Titans, as well as the Houston Texans. Believe it or not, the Colts can still find a way to win the division if the Titans lose and the Colts win. And that would push Tennessee all the way out of the playoffs. So they are also in a must-win situation on Sunday. Houston has not played good football. I'm going to take Tennessee in this one.
I'm going to take Tennessee, and Derrick Henry has 150 yards rushing. But it's going to be an interesting game, Zach. Texans don't go down without a fight. Yeah,
no doubt. So the next game on our list is another big playoff one. Win and you're in for the Cardinals and the Rams. The Rams are down to their third-string quarterback. The Cardinals coming off a tough loss. The Rams, who were the scariest team in the league 3 weeks ago, it's very possible that they are now going to be missing the playoffs.
Zach, there's no Jared Goff, and if Jared Goff was there, it wouldn't make a difference anyway because that's how bad Jared Goff's been the past 2 weeks. Zach, give me the injured Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Zach, they're going to the playoffs this year. It's going to be a party in Arizona.
Yeah, again, when you're in, I will be agreeing with you. I'm going to go with the Cardinals, but it's going to be a big game that's going to matter for both teams and the futures for both of them. Of course, the Cardinals trying to turn it around this year.
Zach, you get a new wide receiver. You give him the ball. You get a running back that's half decent, Kenyon Drake. Your defense is playing phenomenal for a couple weeks. The Hail Murray, Zach, we know that doesn't go through. They're really below 500, not in this game, but it goes through. There's no way Cliff Kingsbury loses this game this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, again, that Rams defense has been red hot, but when you lose to the Jets, you kind of lose your respect from everybody. The next one on our list is the New Orleans Saints and Carolina Panthers. Give me the Saints in this one. There's not any playoff implications really in this one. Although if they win and the Packers lose, the Saints do clinch the 1 seed. So that would be a major one for them. But mostly unlikely, again, that the Packers are playing the Bears.
Well, Zach, ever since Drew Brees got his ribs smashed by what was 11 ribs, 11, 12 ribs, I don't know how many it was. One too many for his age. Zach, I'm going with the Panthers. You can only run the ball with so much Alvin Kamara. Sean Payne would be a fool to play Alvin Kamara in this weekend, and especially for him to play. He's your offense. Michael Thomas hasn't been at all this year, barely. Drew Brees isn't as effective, and I'm not fond of him. Jared Cook is nice some games. Zach, I'm going with the Panthers this weekend. Something tells me that this Panthers team isn't going to go down without a fight.
Possibly end the year on a high note, a successful first season under their new head coach, of course, missing the playoffs. But they'll get a good draft pick, maybe continue to rebuild. The next game is the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. The Bears, all they got to do is win and they're in. They've been doing really well all year. I am going to take Chicago this week. I think Green Bay will try to knock them out. Again, that rivalry, I mean, why wouldn't you take an opportunity to knock the team out? But David Montgomery has been on a tear. My only thing against the Packers is that their rush defense is subpar. Again, Khalil Mack's going to need to be able to turn it up the way he did 2 years ago against Rodgers. It's going to be a very close game, but I will go with the upset and take Chicago this week and put them into the playoffs, possibly saving Matt Nagy's job.
Well, Zach, that last statement right there just fuels me. I hope they lose. I hope that bad man Aaron Rodgers does what he does best, which is crush dreams, Zach. And the reason why I'm going with the Packers this weekend is they don't have the NFC clinched yet. And you want everything to come through Green Bay because it's going to be cold as hell up there. Zach, give me the Packers this week, and the Bears' dreams go home, and Matt Nagy hopefully gets fired, which might not happen because they turned it on the past couple weeks.
Now, either way, win or lose, do you think Mitch Trubisky gets the fifth-year option picked up?
He deserves it. He deserves it. Even though the run game and play action has been his best, he deserves another chance.
You start running the ball, it works. It's a similar system to how it is in Philadelphia. The next game on our list, Chargers-Chiefs. Mahomes is not going to play this week, which means his argument for MVP is officially over. Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers still have another week to make the argument. Gavin, at the moment, who is your MVP pick?
Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. But I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers. It's Zach. It's a three-way tie right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. You got Josh Allen, who's playing insane in Buffalo. Aaron Rodgers was doing all year, and Pat Mahomes. Now you gotta say anything about Pat Mahomes? We know the slow starts and not looking good versus Miami, which could have hurt him. Zach, the MVP is an every game race. I'm rolling with. I think right now, if I gotta give it to Rodgers, but Mahomes and Allen are close seconds.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you have Mahomes back, he's not going to have another opportunity to do anything. And Allen might only get a half. So if Rodgers lights it up on Sunday, he might be able to secure that. As of right now, I have Aaron Rodgers there. It would take Josh Allen having an absolutely insane day and Rodgers not so much to move it around, but I don't think Mahomes will get it this year. Again, he's not going to be playing this week, so unfortunately not making the argument. But I'm sure he'd rather have a deeper playoff run than MVP anyways. Next on our list, Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any major implication to this one. Of course, Seattle and the Rams splitting their series, but Seattle, San Fran, Seattle coming off a big win against the Rams. I'll take Seattle this week.
I'm going to take Seattle this week, and Russell Wilson will play for a half.
Next one, no playoff implications at all. Vegas Raiders, Denver Broncos. I guess Drew Lock is trying to prove that he can deserve one more year. They're same with Derek Carr and the Raiders.
Go ahead and say it for me, Zach. Say it for me one more time about Drew Lock. What was he?
He was supposed to be the dark horse MVP. Injuries and just poor play did not, of course, let him enter the conversation. But I do think the Raiders are the better team. They're going to win this week.
They should win this week, Zach, but it is the Raiders. We know how the Raiders are, especially end of the year. John Gruden's going to go out on a bang, and I'm going with the Raiders, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos do pull it out.
And the final game of the week determines the NFC East, arguably the worst division of all time in the NFL. Look, we know early in the day it's going to happen. Dallas more than likely will beat New York. That brings it to Sunday night, and all they're going to hope for is an Eagles win. Of course, if the Eagles lose, it doesn't matter. The football team wins the division. But Eagles on home turf. Jalen Hurts has been playing better, although second half has not been so great. Gavin, who are you taking in this one?
See, Zach, now there's just two thoughts that came through my mind. The Cowboys win and then the Eagles lose and then Washington goes to the playoffs. Or is that, I like this one better. You ready? The Cowboys win and the Eagles win and the Cowboys go to the playoffs and then get steamrolled by a good team.
I believe it would be, as long as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win this week, they would play in Dallas. That would be a a disaster for Dallas's defense.
Well, Zach, here I'm gonna go with Washington this week. I just want to see Cowboys fans upset as quick as possible. That would make the start 2021 fantastic for me.
I think, again, Dallas will win, but I also do think the Eagles will find a way it's be one of those games where they just find a way to win. It might be low scoring. But look, Washington's not on their best quarterback. Terry McLaurin's banged up. Defense doesn't look so great right now with some key injuries, but Darius Slay's still there. One final week, go out with a bang. Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts. Do I think Hurts looks great this week? No, I'm sure he'll still average 2 or so turnovers and get sacked just as much as the previous quarterback, because the issue is not necessarily in the quarterback position, but Hurts can run around, buy some more time, do what he can to pull off the victory. I'm going to say they win this game by a score of 15-12. Some weird game with a score like that.
And ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I want the Eagles to lose, one, not just for my pleasure and entertainment of Cowboys fans being miserable the next day, and possibly maybe we get Trey on the show just to talk about the misery of the Dallas Cowboys. But no, I want a better draft pick. I want Jamar Chase. I want somebody good. If you're going to trade, if you're going to win this game, at least hope that you still get a nice top 5 draft pick. Zach, that's all I've been asking for ever since we've been eliminated was Jamar Chase or a great wide receiver at some point. So that's the real reason, the 2 real reasons on why I want the Eagles to lose. But the Eagles fan in me would like a win. But Zach, we know it's all at stake for us.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I'll just be interesting. I think that the Washington football team will be a better matchup for Tampa Bay. That'd probably make the better game as a fan. So I don't know. But I just hope for the best. I hope the Eagles can just show some sort of life, because that's all you can really go out for when you've been eliminated.
No doubt. And I mean, this game has payback written over it. Remember, Zach, the Eagles were up and you ultimately lose with Dwayne Haskins at the helm. And I could see the Eagles winning this game, but from a draft perspective and Cowboys misery perspective, I really don't want them to.
We'll have to see how it plays. Again, no Monday games this week. All games will be wrapped up on Sunday this week. A lot of playoff implications. We'll get predictions and more for the wild card weekend, which comes the following week. With that being said, Gavin, anything else you wanted to go over today?
No, Zach, I mean, everybody have a great new year. Just because it's a new year and it says 2021 and we write the date differently doesn't mean that the problems outside the world or outside of our houses is over. There's still a virus. There's still some problems going on in our judicial system and racial things still going on. So, Zach, remember, it may be 2021, but the problems of 2020 are still here. We got to fix it. But all in all, Zach, let's have a positive year. Let's have a great year, and talk to you guys on Monday.
Without doubt, thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Have a good one, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post